have focused on something known as safe space, and that has been the architecture for your campaigns.
We are focusing on the caregiver archetype and not a hero archetype or a rebel archetype. Awareness funnel to the consideration funnel, and people actually started engaging with us. They started considering us with our competition as well. Yeah, I think it's all about understanding trends and how do you pick up trends. It's all about selling the outcome and not selling the product.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Big Brand Bets. And today, I have Dhaval with me. Firstly, I would like to know exactly how do you pronounce your brand?
So we call it as Azorte, and Azorte stands for the assortment that we will have from A to Z, okay, and with a layer of technology to it, which is why TE stands for.
Many people call it Azorte. That must really upset you.
No, I mean we understand that people do call it as Azorte at this point in time. Probably once we are pronounced enough and people know us better, that is where we will probably want to have another campaign wherein we call it as Azorte and not Azorte.
So it's been a 3 year long journey, right, since Azorte launched officially in India. Could you just tell me how the evolution has been in terms of the number of storefronts that you had, the footprint that you currently have?
We are an omnichannel brand. Okay, we operate on Ajio for our online commerce. While we have about 43 odd stores present across 22 odd locations, pan India. So that is how we are placed at this point in time, predominantly in metro, followed by tier one and tier two cities.
I found about your marketing, you could say the overarching approach is that you have focused on something known as safe space. And that has been the architecture for your campaigns, right from the first one, which dropped earlier this year, and the one which was the latest one, featuring two celebrities, which was in September, if I'm not mistaken, right? Why did you pick up this particular aspect? Was there any cultural insight that you gleaned during your focus group with your target audience?
We had about 30 odd in-depth interviews with our target audiences, which is predominantly sophisticated Gen Zs. And what we realized is there are a lot of anxieties or challenges that they are going through. A lot of brands speak to them about being a role model, also trying to become something or someone in their journey, to be very aspirational in a way, while we really wanted to harp onto the anxieties and challenges that they are going through. And Azort as a brand tries and solves for those anxieties. As a brand, we are focusing on the caregiver archetype and not a hero archetype or a rebel archetype, which a lot of fashion brands generally actually go this way around. And which is why your safe space actually resonated very well to the idea that we were actually having for our Gen Zs.
As you move evolve with your marketing campaigns, will it still adhere to the safe space ethos, or do you see there is going to be a further evolution to that
So
concept?
basically, your safe space is the umbrella that we're gonna have for long now. Okay. And what we have understood that we will not change our archetype. We as a brand are here to redeem you from the eyes of the world. And what we have understood in this in-depth discussions also that Gen Zs are always in some or the other dichotomy. They have these conflicts running in their mind that they want a chill life, but at the same time they want to hustle as well. But we as a brand are telling them, no, we understand you that you have these things in your mind, and we appreciate what you are going through, and which is why we say that okay, you would be in the mid of your conflicts, you will have multiple conflicts in your mind, and how we as a brand are providing you a safe space to understand the conflicts which are running in your mind.
In your first campaign, you had almost 400 million reach, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's quite significant given the fact that it was your first one. And in your second leg, what was the kind of store visit that the campaign was able to enable, given the fact that it dropped just pre-festive season?
Yeah, so actually, we were hovering at about 3,000 walk-ins per week, to which we reached to about 90,000 walk-ins per week just before the festive. Okay, so we were very loud on digital because my Gen Zs are predominantly on digital media. Okay, which we call the age of screenagers or Zoomers, right? And what we realized that we only advertised wherever our stores were present, which is about 24 odd locations and a vicinity of about 10 to 12 kilometers of radius. Through this we were able to reach 400 million users. Okay, and in the same way, the reach of 3000 to 90,000 happened because people didn't know about us. Or through the brand campaign, we spoke to them about the relevance that we are trying to bring in their lives, and which is why people actually, and we were operating at a frequency of 4 as well. So people who watched our videos, they actually went to the store, they shopped, and that is how we evolved as a brand.
When Azorte started its operations in India, it had a few other fashion partners, right? Today, it is skewed largely on its in-house brands that is there. Can you just explain about how this entire evolution started and why it decided to zero in on its own internal brands?
Yeah, so I think when we started back in September 2022, our first store was based out of Bangalore, 1MG Mall. And what we realized that it was a new brand from the Reliance portfolio, and it was a need to bring in people during that point in time. And I think people really connected well with the partnered brands like Adidas, Gap, and such others. So at that point in time, we were skewed at about 70 odd percent the partner brands, 30 odd percent private labels. But in due course of time, when you talk about margin, profitability of the brand, we tried and then flipped it around. And now we are operating at about 70 odd percent private labels, 30 odd percent the partner brands. And that is how we have moved from starting a first store in 2022 to now at about 43 odd stores with a certain kind of profitability that we are already seeking through.
Okay, so you mentioned about flipping of the script, right? And you also mentioned that when you started, it was all about getting the attention of the consumers, ensuring that they cross the threshold and enter the stores. And now, when you have reduced that kind of reliability, or rather focus on the external brands, there is also this very interesting thing that the India's fashion market has become highly fragmented, and more or less the same brands are going after the same consumer pie. Do you think at this point in time it is even more important for Azort to focus on more partner brands, because at the end of the day they can convert into more walk-ins?
What we have understood is that, till the time we had partnered brands, okay, and they were available everywhere, okay, we were not able to give that kind of exclusivity to the partner brands in the Azort stable as such. Secondly, what we also realized that our margin used to drop. So when we came up with our brand campaign, wherein we actually had a meaning for Azort in my Gen Z's mind, that is the time when we actually started reducing our partnered brands, because now you were forming a meaning in their mind. So Azort as a brand, through your safe space, came up with a meaning. Okay, people started attaching a certain kind of meaning to Azort. The moment we were able to deliver that, we started reducing the contribution of partner brands. We started having our private labels, such that at the end of the day, profitability do matter, right? You want your brand to be successful, and it's all about, when you are trying to, as a marketeer, you are trying to make a brand. It's all about making a profit, okay? Because otherwise, there is no difference between a brand and a commodity, right? So it's all about, again, coming back to, it's all about attaching a meaning. The moment when we were able to do that, and through campaign one, we were able to reach to about 400 million users. We saw that, okay, we are moving in a certain direction. And again, through our campaign two, we moved from the awareness funnel to the consideration funnel, and people actually started engaging with us. They started considering us with our competition as well. And that is where we started seeing the walk ins as well in our stores. And that also grew incrementally quite well. And that is where we decided, okay, now it's time to probably have a larger pie of the private labels and reduce a bit on the partner brand.
To have this continuous conversations with your consumer base to understand what is it that they're feeling, the slang that they use, the behavioral mindsets that are there. Basis that, are there any demand gaps that Azort has now identified, which it probably wants to tap in, not just from the marketing lens, but also from the product development lens? Because we are talking about an industry which literally, like they say, fashions change faster than the seasons. So, in this kind of a situation, how do you take all this consumer insights, since you're the crux of it, and then dial it down into the rest of the team so they can ensure that the profitability goal is met?
Yeah, I think it's all about understanding trends and how do you pick up trends. What we have seen so far, trends actually evolve on social media. They run to the stores very fast, and that it did not take a lot many months. It's probably within a weeks you will see that trend in a certain in the online, and then it will hover down to retail stores, and probably in within a fortnight it will just vanish out. Okay, at this juncture, okay, it's not about capturing trends and making products for those, or probably coming up with few collections. Trends also come up because of certain insights. So it was all about picking those nuances, and it all happens when you talk to the consumer, when you talk to your target audiences at length. And you probably don't speak about product as such. Product and collections are just an outcome of what you want to try and sell. So what we feel at Azort, it's all about selling the outcome and not selling the product.
So how is it that you actually glean in, because with the in-store experiences, let's say the efficacy or the value that a concept like the smart trial room actually has, whether it's again dwell time, and tie it to the sales conversion that takes place, not as a novelty.
So I think it's all about the experience, and the experience should be as frictionless as possible. The moment you see a friction in some way or the other, we feel that technology is not solving it, but rather complicating it. So that is how we gleaned onto that. Okay, how and where all the technology can, what we are trying to have, will only aid in a better consumer experience and not actually go the other way around.
There was a time when you used to have four fashion periods. Now you literally have them dropping at drop speed. So, how do you ensure that whether this shorter lead times that you have can actually result in better localized demand, since you're present pan India and you have ambitions to go further as well? So, how do you actually even map all of these trends that is there with the drop trends that are there, and then tied back to the cadence and the scale of each drop? Because at the end of the day, again, it will have an impact on profitability, right?
We use two approaches. One is a data led approach, another is we are obviously speaking to a consumer and all of that, identifying what drops we should have. Obviously we are cutting down from 6 odd months, which is hovering across 4 seasons: autumn, winter, spring, summer, and all of those things, to now 15 days approach. Okay, but a lot of brands are doing that. Okay, but in an endeavor to actually capture that cycle, people are not doing it doing a better job out of it. It's all about producing at mass and then putting it out, which is why probably the fabric quality, the fit, the color that they are using, it's all taking a toll. And that is where, if we are doing led by science and the approach that we are trying to have, if we are doing it fairly, if not 15 odd days, sometimes we also have a drop in 20-25 odd days. But it's all about being relevant. The moment you are being relevant, then certainly out of the seas of sameness that you see out there, you are being differentiated in a way. And I think that is how it's working for me. And obviously we always keep on doing A/B testing. Okay, whether what has worked, what has not worked. And trends is only about 30-35% of the 100% pie. A lot of times it's all about 60-65% basics. Okay, so you have to keep doing your basics well. The fabric that you are using, the stretch that you are providing in your fabric, also the price consciousness that your consumer actually come with. Either your price is being perceived in a certain way, are you providing that kind of fabric and quality of the product to the price that you are trying to provide? The moment you do all of those things, match it well, it works for you.
So when you're looking at concepts like variability, but you also want to build a little bit of relevance, and you also want to build a little bit of prestige, all of it together. So the basics are definitely going to be very important. As the company gallops towards its very ambitious plans of spreading its footprint, which is the one thing that is really going to be the driving force? Is it going to be price? Is it going to be deep discounting? Is it going to be the tech led platform? Is it going to be, again, the designs that are there? What is that one leg, that is the pillar that is really going to hold strong?
See, I would rather, clutch in on fabric quality with fashion forwardness. Okay. When you talk about discounting or when you talk about pricing, they are just temporary parameters. If you really want to scale up faster, you probably do larger discounts, but then you don't build a brand. When you build a brand, it's about providing that meaning in the minds of the consumer. And it also accentuates to a fact that you have a very good product at hand. Okay, so our focus is on producing that good product which is really in demand, and that too you probably read the market, you talk to customers, and you really understand that okay, what's working, what's not working. And it's also about bringing international fashion to Indian context.
As we move on to the end of the year, and the start of the next year, what is it that Azort has on its the marketing calendar that our viewers and audience can look forward to?
So we came up with a brand ambassador approach wherein we had Vedang Raina and Kushi Kapoor as our brand ambassadors because they were actually the right fit for Gen Zs. Okay, they were also in the middle of their journey. They were not someone who had made name for themselves. Okay, which is why people would relate to them that okay, I am also in the middle of my journey. But now I think we have reached a certain point in time. Okay, fairly a lot of people now know us, and I think our next leg of the campaign again would be to hover around your safe space. Again, take one leaf out of the anxieties that they are going through, which are culturally relevant at that point in time. Okay, and work towards it. Okay, maybe we might have a brand ambassador, we might not have. That's the call that we would take at that point in time. But it's all about again giving that meaning to what their challenges are. So we will probably keep on doing such work wherein it's all about creating good content, keeping it relevant for them rather than showing an imaginary model wherein it's all about aspiration, but we would rather want to be more authentic and more relevant to them. I think our marketeer's job is about to create brands. If you are able to do that, and through different KPIs, you understand that, right? Through awareness, through engagement, what was your KPI to what you are at now, that actually helps you. And that's a kick that you get in. And till the time, if you are able to create a brand from a commodity, I think it really works for you. And I think that is what making me happy at this point in time.
Well, I think the best summary of this would be that you're in your mid.
I am in my mid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am in my mid.
Okay, great. I don't know whether I should wish you to stay in the mid or not, but I
Yeah.
hope the rest of the journey is very interesting for you as the entire fashion industry also goes through a lot of changes as we have seen. Well, thank you so much, Dhaval, for taking the time to speak to Campaign India. It was such a lovely pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.